Hey, how's everybody doing today? It's Matt, and welcome to Let's Talk Old School. This is going to be a pilot episode, and depending on how you guys receive this video and how you guys feel about this video, we'll make this a weekly series, or if you guys don't like it, then we can just run it out of town and we don't do it ever again. But figured, let's take 3 topics that really have been jogging the community every single week, or at least for the past 2 weeks, and bring the debate to the center of discussion. So, this week we're going to talk about Kraken, and we're going to talk about GWD, and we're going to talk about Orion. And a lot of you guys probably haven't heard of Orion. I didn't even hear about Orion until yesterday. So I'm going to talk about all 3 of these topics from the debate standpoint, where I'm going to talk about both sides and stand up for both sides, and then you guys talk about it down below, and we can come to a consensus on this. Anyway, let's talk about the first topic, which is going to be Kraken. So, Silent Core already did a video in great detail talking about the Kraken, an OSRS boss, which would be level 600, it'd be a 3-phase boss, and it would introduce new items into the game, such as the Dragon Warhammer, a magic staff that had a special attack, the Dragon Crossbow, the Dragon Kite Shield, and, you know, if you'd like to see a video in greater detail about the Kraken, and the proposed boss, I'll leave a link to Silent Core's video in the description. You can go check that out. Now, this is just a piece of concept art, or a concept for what Kraken could possibly be. This was actually made many years ago. This wasn't made recently. So the Kraken is not really an original concept. It's a concept that's been around not only for Runescape, but for other games for many years. The Kraken is most famous for being portrayed in the movie The Pirates of the Caribbean, of course with Johnny Depp, and you guys know that movie and that whole trilogy. Really solid movie, and it would be kind of cool to possibly have this boss in the game. But then again, I do see both perspectives. There's one faction of Old School that says, you know what, Matt, I kind of want Old School to stay the way it is. I don't really want any new concepts. I don't want Old School to evolve into what RuneScape 3 is evolved into now. And you have the other faction of RuneScape saying, you know what, Old School should evolve and go on its own path. We don't have to worry about trying to be fearful. As long as it's community based and not based off of the agenda of Jagex, then things will go really smoothly and we'll get the updates we want. And I'm going to bring it middle ground and full center right now. I can sympathize with both sides, because you know what? I would be fearful if somebody brought back a game that I really love playing, and I already know the history of the game and I already know what happened to the game, and I don't want that to happen again. Then I'm going to be kind of fearful. I'm going to be kind of conservative. I don't really want things to happen. But if I'm from the other side and I'm like, you know what, I've kind of blown right through Old School and I kind of want things to progress a little bit so we get some new updates, then I can sympathize with them as well, because they've already progressed through the game. They want something new. So I can sympathize with both sides, and that's why I welcome the debate about Kraken down below. Let me know your thoughts on this topic, because you know what, I'm very indifferent towards it. I'm a PvPer. I really am only vocal towards PvP updates. However, I do see a very important purpose for PvM in Old School, and in my opinion, I think it's lacking a little bit. Now, let's move on to the next topic, which is GWD, and we'll talk about that. Alright, so on July 31st, Captain McGee made a post, a compromise post, about GWD, and talking about certain tweaks that could be added to it, and that you should be able to earn your weapons and always be able to go back to God Wars if you lose your weapon to re-earn it again. This was kind of a compromise from the 2 factions of RuneScapers, Old Schoolers, that like God Swords, like the fact that, wow, I can use it in the wilderness again and spec with it and have a really sick time, and it could be tradable, and the other faction that just didn't want God Wars to begin with. If we remember, we go back 6 months when Old School first came out, there was a huge opposition to God Wars, and the flash polls that I did and other people did were basically saying that 45% of the people did not want God Wars. Now that the tides have turned, 6 months later, God Wars is got 93%, I believe, approval for the reintroduction into the game. Now, obviously, Jagex has already said that they do not have the quote-unquote tools to do God Wars, and not sure how that's progressing forward, but ModMadK did quote this, and there is a very strong interest in God Wars in general. Now, this compromise post here basically alludes to the fact that, well, there's some middle ground that could possibly happen. You know, we could have God Wars, we could have certain tweaks, and we could have the swords not be tradable, but you could still use them, but if you die with it, it turns to dust and you got to go back to God Wars and get another one, and that the armor, like Armadillo and Bandos, is not tradable, and the only things that are going to be tradable would be the shards and the dragon boots. Now, again, I'm very indifferent towards this. I'd love to see your debate on this topic down below so that I get some feedback from you guys. Honestly, at this point, everything that I've heard from Jagex doesn't look like that they have the ability to reintroduce God Wars at this time. However, once they get the tools, they would be able to reintroduce God Wars in some way, shape, or fashion, whether it be exactly as it was or a compromise in the sense that, you know, maybe it's not exactly the same scenery or the same mechanics. They could reintroduce these items or reintroduce these bosses. But I'd love to get your feedback down below on what you think about this topic, but we're going to move on to talking about Orion. Okay, so I'm not going to confirm or deny the legality of this client. It's an old school client, Orion version 2.07, and it was made by a guy by the name of Ghost, I believe. Name is Matt Ghost, and is also moderated by other people, including Rogi, and has been showcased by Rogi in the past, who's a fellow video maker. I have heard from multiple sources that this client is perfectly okay to use, and that ModJackMop has confirmed the legality of this client, and that you can use it, and that it does not infringe upon the game, and that you know, it's not going to be picked up by bot software tools that Jagex uses to ban people for botting. However, this does infringe upon the game, whether it be in a positive or negative way is your opinion, and I'm not going to offer my opinion here. This is where we spark the debate. You know, what this client actually does is it introduces overlays that you can add on top. You can add your mini-map orbs, such as the hit points, the prayer, and the run energy, and you can also add the special attack orb that you just saw right there. And when you do your special attacks, of course, the number there, the 100 number, goes down, and when your spec regenerates, that number will go back up. Same thing with your run energy, your prayer, your hit points. And this kind of mimics a later interface build for Runescape that was introduced in a much later time frame. And I know that there was a lot of people that wanted these kind of orbs, and there's also a lot of people that don't want these orbs because it takes away from the old school experience. The reason why there's a debate is because, well, you know, by having those orbs, it kind of made PvP a little bit easier, and you didn't have to really worry about your prayer as much as long as you looked at that. There was one thing on this client that they had to take out. I think that JMod said you got to take this out, and that was quick prayers, and that kind of introduced the botting characteristic, or the macroing characteristic. You weren't allowed to have a macroing characteristic in the client, and that's why they had to take that out. Another thing that they're trying to do right now with this client is introduce bank search. And I know we did a straw poll about bank search, and 93% of you guys wanted bank search. Jagex has told me that they don't have the tools to do bank search, so this client could actually facilitate the need for people that want bank search. I know it's being developed. Anyway, I don't have an opinion on this. I just want your opinions, and I'd like to spark a debate about these topics: the Kraken boss, GWD, and the Orion client, and what it introduces into the game. Comment down below, that would be great. Also, if we can achieve 1,000 likes on this video, then I will do these every single week, as long as there is support for it. But if you guys do not like this style of video and you don't want to see me talk about things like this anymore, then feel free to let me know as well. But if we can achieve 1,000 likes, then I will do this again next week, and we'll talk about new things, new updates, new proposals, and such for Old School. This has been the pilot episode of Let's Talk Old School. Thank you all for watching, and stay tuned to the channel. I'll talk to you all soon. Have a good one, guys, and peace out.